Events in the Nigerian Senate of recent are like the theater of the absurd. Since the 10th Senate began, it has been one messy scenario or the other. Currently, it is the banter over budget padding. Why has the Senate, hallowed and revered, become undignified, pedestrian and a ridicule to our collective psyche? Is the Nigerian Senate a disgrace or what? Will it be out of line to say the Senate is a huge disappointment? From day one, it just seemed the 10th Senate, presided over by Senator Akpabio, did not really mean serious business. It began with intrigues and dirty horse trading that trailed the emergence of its leadership. And somehow, it seems to have continued right till this moment in a serial manner that betrays its hallowed status. Will it be wrong to say the Senate has not been that distinguished thus far? Recall that in its early days, the Senate President hit the gravel with a comment, and I quote, "Let the poor breathe," unquote, in response to a motion on poverty, and the chamber roared with sarcastic laughter. Laughter and poverty are strangers to each other. Poverty is not a loose line in a comic book for the Senate to just laugh it off. We ask then, as we ask again, at what point did the groveling poverty that Nigerians face become a matter to laugh about? Wasn't that incident irresponsible and insensitive? However, life moved on. Then came another insensitive charade of senators along with their colleagues in the House of Representatives. Without giving a damn about the moral burden, they insisted on taking 70 billion naira out of an initial 500 billion naira meant to be given to 12 million poor and vulnerable Nigerian households as palliative to cushion the effects of government policy actions that have created the unintended consequences of pushing more Nigerians into the poverty bracket. Recall also how the 469 legislators gave themselves 160 million naira largesse each to buy SUVs while preaching cost-cutting to the populace. Now, the macabre dance in the theater of the absurd has taken another ridiculous turn of shame, sham, and shenanigans. Or what are we to make of the disgraceful banters over allegations of padding of the 2024 national budget? In one breath is the allegations of an over 3 trillion naira dishonorably padded into the budget. Is it true or not? Rather than trace and track such alleged infractions as due diligence requires, the senator who blew the whistle, Abdul Ningi from Bauchi State, was suspended. What purpose did that jerky action achieve other than further gaslighting the inequities in the Senate, even as some have said that the suspension was illegal? As it is, the saga is further exposing damning dealings in the Senate, indicating unscrupulous and undignified activities in the Red Chamber of the National Assembly. Or what do we make of the disclosures that the 2024 budget contains provisions of 193 million naira just for one borehole, and that 427 of such boreholes are to be built at a padded total of 82.5 billion naira. Also, 1,150 streetlights at 184 million naira per street light, drawn up to a hefty 212 billion naira. Other similarly ridiculous line items inserted into the budget include 15.32 billion naira National Assembly Library Project, 15 billion naira National Assembly Housing Project, 10 billion naira Recreation and Car Park for the National Assembly, shameless allocation of 3 billion naira for the 109 senators car park and the same amount for the 360 members of the House of Representatives car park, 27.8 million naira for a senator's car park, and 8.3 million naira for the car park of each members of the House of Representatives. Haba. With all these under-the-table insertions, the initial budget of the National Assembly of 197 billion naira was jacked up to 344 billion naira, a 147 billion naira increase, about 80% increase. It is the highest budget ever in the history of the National Assembly. Among the questions to ask is, were the senators aware that the National Assembly budget is more than twice the budget of the entire 26 federal universities? Were they oblivious of the funding gaps affecting these universities and making Nigeria lag behind in a global environment where knowledge is the greatest capital? Why should budget provisions for the National Assembly, more than that of the critical productive sectors of the economy? Why? Do they appreciate that the 2024 budget is running on deficit, trapped by external borrowings? Do they know that by diverting projects that MDAs have statutory responsibilities to execute into so-called constituency projects, which Nigerians allege they self-execute or half-execute only to pass same off as benevolence to their constituents, amount to legislative capture of executive functions and creates a moral/trust deficit? Does the Senate and as well the House of Representatives know that Nigerians are not happy, that they are merely feeding fat on their Commonwealth, even as the Human Development Index in the country is critically low? Do they realize how disappointed Nigerians are over the serial, disgraceful, dishonorable, and insensitive profile they project? When will the National Assembly truly live to the billing of the critical task of making sound laws for the good of all? When will the National Assembly realize that the hallowed chambers are not for frivolous, grandstanding, theatrical public displays or pretentious, superficial posturing that mock the core concerns and plight of the masses? When will the National Assembly, in its open and covert actions, project itself as being truly for the people beyond posturing to be representatives? Certainly, the Senate leadership must know that the recent scenes coming out of the Senate chamber portray a picture of insensitivity to the current sorry state of the nation and the objective material conditions of the people they represent.